Now, let's dig into the body element and add some real page structure. I'm going to jump into the body and type a header tag, and then I'm going to put our H1 inside of the header. Just below the header, I'm going to create a section element, and then below that, I'm going to create a footer. One thing you'll notice about Workspaces is that if you type enough of the element that you're trying to create, it will auto-complete it for you. If I type some of the element here and then hit enter, it will automatically complete the rest of the element name. If I then close the tag, it will add the closing tag for me. Again, this is just more code completion that allows you to type faster by typing less. Now, I've added 3 new elements here: the header element, the section element, and the footer element. This provides the basic structure for our site content. Let's go through each one of these new elements. The header element is different than the head element that we added earlier. The head element is just for the web browser to read metadata about the HTML document. This new header element is actually a part of the site's content and helps structure the information that we're displaying to site visitors. Inside of it, we have the first level headline that we created earlier, and I've made sure to continue indenting properly. Now, before we move on to the section and footer, let's add a second level headline that matches the title we created earlier. The headline will be slightly smaller than our first level headline when it's rendered on our web page. So after my first level headline, I'm going to type H2, and then inside of that, I'm going to type designer. Now, this section element will soon contain our image gallery. Sections, just as the name implies, break up a page into logical groupings of information, just like sections of a newspaper. We're not ready to build our gallery just yet, but let's add a temporary placeholder paragraph so that when we preview the page, we'll know where this section appears. So, inside of my section, I'm going to type a paragraph element, and I'm going to say gallery will go here. The footer element is a complement to the header element. Here we can put things like copyright information or social media links. Similar to the header, this is a good place to put information that we want to feature on every page. Unlike the header, this information isn't really important enough to put at the top of the page, so we're de-emphasizing it by putting it at the bottom. Let's add a paragraph that contains copyright information. So inside of my footer here, I'm going to create a new paragraph, and you'll notice that when I hit enter to open up a tag, Workspaces automatically indents for me. I didn't have to type tab there. Now let's create our paragraph. So I'm going to type a paragraph element, or p tag there. And we're going to use some special code here, and I'm going to type it out, then explain it. So I'm going to type an ampersand. So I'll hit Shift and then the number 7 on my keyboard for ampersand. Then I'm going to type the word copy, followed by a semicolon. And you can see in the code completion there that Workspaces provides what that might do. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Then after my semicolon there, I'm going to type a space. I'm going to type 2014. And I'm going to type Nick Pettit followed by a period. This special syntax that we typed is a character that doesn't appear on our keyboard. In fact, it is the copyright character. So we need to type what's called an HTML entity to make it appear. There are lots of HTML entities like this, but there's no need to memorize them. Most web designers and developers just go to a search engine when they need to look them up. In the notes for this video, you'll find a link that lists them out for you. The syntax follows the pattern of an ampersand, followed by the name of the symbol, and then a semicolon. So you can go ahead and type an ampersand here, and Workspaces will automatically generate a list of HTML entities for you to choose from. As you can see, there are quite a lot of them, but if you go ahead and continue typing, it will narrow down the list as you type. But we don't need a second special character there, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. Now, let's save our web page, and we're going to preview it. However, before we open the preview window, I want you to try and visualize what you think the page will look like. Now, let's open it up. Does the page look like what you were expecting? Right now, it's pretty underwhelming. It's just a white background and some black text, and only the most basic default styling that's been applied automatically by the browser. We're going to add lots more life to this page with CSS, but first, we need to finish up the content. One thing I would like you to notice right now, though, is the sequence of the content. From the top down to the bottom, our page has a header with our name, followed by a second-level headline that we've made, then this section with the content inside, which right now is just a temporary paragraph, followed by the footer down at the bottom. This is exactly the same order that our elements appear in our code. In other words, we can't just put things into our HTML randomly. It should appear in the order that we would like it to appear on the page, starting from the top left corner and working our way down the page. We just covered a lot of new HTML elements, including the doc type, the HTML element, meta element, title element, head and body elements, and the header, section, and footer elements. Before we continue, let's take a quick code challenge to make sure that you've mastered this important information.